Welcome to the Soul Power Experience. Activate your soul power, live your infinite greatness, be your own hero. This is the learning video for session 11. It is just projection. So you may remember from the forgiveness video that I attended a forgiveness workshop, and on one page I listed all the things that I don't like about others, and I turned the page to find out those were all the things that I did not like about myself. I was projecting my dislike to others. And I had no idea that was a thing. It was an important step in my seeing the illusion of my own judgments and reactions, and another important step of taking 100% responsibility for my emotions. So I began to see the problem of projecting my issues onto others. Projection is what we do with our difficult, unresolved emotions. It's okay to have difficult emotions, but we do want to resolve them so we don't carry them within our own body or project them onto others. Understanding forgiveness and projection are important tools in cutting through the illusion of the story we tell ourselves. In past sessions of the Soul Power Experience, we have learned that emotions are neither positive or negative. Emotions just are. We learn from our emotions. We are strengthened and we are weakened by our emotions. All of our emotions need to be honored and heard. Pain often leads us to important and meaningful personal growth. Unless it doesn't, it's your choice. The goal of this session is to understand projection. Projection is taking your internalized thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions and seeing them in others. I will share 3 very effective meditation and journaling techniques. One technique helps us to identify our shadow, which is our inner projection, specifically what we are trying to hide. The other technique addresses our outer projection, which is when we project our pain onto others and blame them for how we feel. Remember, the goal is to take 100% responsibility for our emotions. No more blaming or excuses. No one can make you feel anything. Feelings are self-generated. We are not the voice in our head. We find ourselves regretting the past, reacting to the present, and worrying about the future. We can gain a sense of sanity by questioning our thoughts. As you will see in these techniques, it is interesting that oftentimes the opposite of what we're thinking is more true than the story we tell ourselves. So first, let's look at the issue of our shadow. Our shadow is whenever we tell ourselves what we do not want to be. So as we grow up and create our life, we focus on what works for us. We depend on the strong and positive aspects of ourself in order to survive, and on a good day, thrive, which is, of course, what I hope for you. Often these positive qualities have an opposite quality which we ignore and hide because of shame and guilt. We deny the things we don't like and spend our life keeping these things hidden. Imagine carrying a ball around for a day with the goal of not letting anyone see it. Imagine how much energy it takes each day to hide the things we do not like about ourselves. And actually, we can't hide anything because all of it spills into our life one way or another. And because we deny our shadow, it spills into our life from our subconscious and unconscious mind in our thoughts and reactions. I've often thought, what do we do when just do it doesn't work? Have you ever tried to just do it and you can't? Well, that's because we have blocks in our subconscious and unconscious mind that need to be removed. Um, our behaviors stem from our subconscious and unconscious mind, uh, which is generational, and we address that with the emotion code or from the events of our life. By the way, I'm super proud of you for addressing your life at the inner mind level. So let's look at the image and shadow words. Share this screen here. Great, and here we go. Okay, so these are the image and shadow words. Now you'll find this information in your binder, and there's a journaling technique, that's the third technique, that we'll be using this very specifically, and I'll go over that with you at the end of our one-on-one session. So first of all, you mark the image words just by putting a little dot by each one, a little circle. Find all the words on the image that you think just feel true to you. They're important to you. They're who you are, and these are all positive things that we have created in our lives in order to do life well. Then on the other side are our shadow characteristics. And these are the things that you know are true about you, but they're hidden from anyone. So we'll be using this, and you will be amazed when we find the gift in your shadow traits. So we can celebrate the image that we have created for ourselves, and also we can find the gift of our shadow. So what we means is if I'm attractive, it also means I'm unattractive, and I can be okay with that. If I'm lazy, it also means I'm a hard worker, and I can be okay with that. There's a saying in learning about projection, which is on your journal sheet: I am who I think you are. Another important concept is I am that. So you might be seeing people at school or at work or in your own family, and you're like, oh, I could never be like that. But actually, we all exist in this human family with a combined kind of consciousness, and we are all of those things. We can just say, I am that, and accept what we see in others as part of who we are. So we can look at others and observe the traits that we do not like. Rather than judging, we can say, I am that. We are capable of what others do and say, and vice versa. We are all one. We share in the one story of humanity, past, present, and future. We're capable of doing and being the same as anyone else. So we no longer need to hide from each other. So as you see in your, click here, the gift of your shadow. So what do you love about yourself? What's the opposite of that? In what ways does this opposite serve you? You honor and accept both of these characteristics of your personality, and you find the gift in each. Continue to love what you love about yourself, and learn to love what you hide. To quote Debbie Ford, talk about a shift in perception, she recalled. It wasn't about me getting rid of my anger or greed or bitchiness, but understanding those were gifts and integrating them. Our brightest light can shine only when we've accepted our darkness. There is wisdom in every wound, or pain is not personal, but belongs to every man and woman alive. For example, I'm open-minded. The opposite I'm denying is that I'm closed-minded. But the gift of being closed-minded is when I'm more discerning and less gullible. I'm loving. The opposite that I'm denying is that I'm not loving. The gift is I am really bothered when I'm not loving, which makes me look inside and see what's going on with me. When I'm bothered by being not loving, it proves how much I value loving. I'm strong. The opposite I'm denying is that I'm weak. The gift of being weak is to acknowledge that when I feel weak, I can rest or ask for help. So you can see that what you love about yourself, that's a gift, obviously, but also the opposite of that can also be a gift. All right, well, that is the gift of the shadow. Here's another one. I'm spiritual. The opposite of that is I'm not spiritual. The gift of being not spiritual is that when I need to get my head out of the clouds and be practical and do everyday things like dust, sweep, and laundry. So being not spiritual is very practical, and it helps me get my housework done because I am very spiritual. So we have expectations of ourselves and others. When we or they do not meet our expectations, we experience pain. We judge others as willing when we should see them as capable. So there might be people in your family or your friends or your work that just don't seem to be very willing to help you or to meet your expectations. And actually, we judge them for not being willing when in fact, we should need to see them whether or not this is something they're capable of doing or not. So when we see the issue of our perceptions, I want to give you a little story. So is it a snake or a rope? So imagine someone walking upon a path and there's, maybe it's a dusty path with bushes or sagebrush or whatever you can imagine. And they're looking around them, and all of a sudden they look down into a shadow and they see a snake. What do? You stop. You get chills from head to toe. You don't know whether to run backwards or to the side or what to do, and your whole body reacts in some emotional reaction. And that's kind of what we do with our perceptions. But then, as we look more closely, we realize, oh my goodness, it's just a rope. It's not a snake. And what does our body do? It completely relaxes. We kind of laugh at ourselves. And we could never see that as a snake again. When we look at that rope, we can't imagine it's a snake to become afraid again, right? We know it's a rope, and ropes aren't scary. So ask yourself, whenever you have a perception, you have to question, is this a snake? Is this real? Or is it a rope? Is it something I'm perceiving, which in fact is not a threat to me at all? My perception makes it a threat, thinking it's a snake. When in fact, if we can question it and see the gift in understanding it, we can see that it's a rope. So this diagram obviously is in your notebook as well. So we live with snakes in our mind, but they're not real. We are going to learn a technique called the turnaround question, which turns our pain into a rope, and we can't see it as a snake again. We make observations all the time, and it's okay to do so. An observation is just neutral. We're observing something. But as soon as these observations become painful or hurtful, we can tell that our observations have turned into judgments from which we are projecting our own pain. We can say, I want this snake to become a rope. The tool is to question our thoughts by asking, is it true? So in Your Inner Awakening by Byron Katie, the author states, an unquestioned mind is chaos. Chaos causes suffering. When I believe my thoughts, I suffer. I suffer when I need something I don't have. If I don't have it, I don't need it. How do I know? Because I don't have it. We can learn to adore what is and accept what we have when we are perfectly clear what is what we want. I completely love Byron Katie. I have attached a PDF to a book in your email, and you're welcome to find that online on your own, or just click on what I've provided for you. So we're going to go ahead to the turnaround question technique. We need to question our negative thoughts by asking, is it true? What's the story you tell yourself? Is it true? We are to question anything that comes to our mind that opposes peace. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you don't feel peaceful about something, then you ask, is what I'm thinking true? Feelings are a gift. Our feelings reveal what we believe. Our feelings show us what's inside our minds and our bodies. So here's this technique. I will explain each step, and then I'll give an example of each step. So after each question, close your eyes and wait for the answer to come. So we might say, I am mad with my husband because he doesn't listen to me. Then you close your eyes. Is this true? Your first time you're asking your conscious mind if it's true, because your conscious mind is the one that's kind of becoming aware of everything in your circumstances, and sometimes your conscious mind knows automatically it's not true, and if that's the case, go to question 4. But if you say, yes, it's true, I really think it's true, then you ask your inner mind, your subconscious mind, are you absolutely sure it's true? And oftentimes we will hear a no from that. The next question is, and if it's yes or no, it doesn't matter, because we're going to move on to the next question, which is, how do you feel and react when you believe that thought? So if I think that if I've got this thought, then I'm angry and depressed and confused and helpless, indifferent, afraid, hurt, sad, judgmental, all those things. And then we're like, do I want to live with all of these feelings, in my mind and in my body? So then how would you feel when you do not think that thought? Well, if I didn't think this thought, I would feel open, loving, happy, interested, alive, positive, peaceful, strong, and relaxed. You just have such a sense of relief not feeling this negative thought. Then you ask the turnaround questions. This is the magic. So what's the opposite of the thought? What's the opposite to myself? What's the opposite thought to the other? And the opposite of actually number 1. And then you list the 3 ways of how the turnaround thought is true. So I'm going to go ahead and read from some of the information that I've provided in your notebook that you can also find online. Okay, so the issue is I'm angry with Paul because he doesn't understand me. Is it true that he doesn't understand you? Can you absolutely know it's true? Do you know what Paul does or doesn't understand? So what happens when you believe that thought? Paul should understand me, and if he doesn't, I feel angry. Who would you be without the thought? Paul should understand me. What would your life look like without that thought? So you could turn it around now and say that I should understand me. So the reason that you might want Paul to understand you is you're trying to figure out yourself, but projecting it on Paul. So I should understand me. Then the second answer would be I should understand Paul. So rather than judging him for not understanding you, maybe you should spend time understanding him. And then the next one is opposite. Rather than Paul should understand me, it's Paul shouldn't understand me. How can he understand me? I'm me and Paul is Paul. Paul should understand himself. I should understand myself. And then you figure out 3 ways that that turnaround thought is true. Like, Paul shouldn't understand me because he's his own person and I'm my own person, and I should understand myself. And if I spent more time understanding Paul rather than judging him, our relationship would be closer. So you just come up with some reasons why the turnaround thought is true. It's just an amazing exercise. And we're actually going to do this in our one-on-one sessions so that you can experience it for yourself a few times. So that is the turnaround question technique. We can live a life of peace and experience freedom from pain. We do not need to suffer. We naturally feel pain when we're wounded. The problem is that we feel this wound over and over and over again. Wouldn't it be better to turn our thoughts around and accept this disowned part of us and let the feeling of pain flow out and away from us? So we can look for what is perfect in what is. All right, great. So how can we shift our perception to see the purpose for our emotions? Or at least we can trust we will someday understand the purpose, and in the meantime, live a life of freedom for all, freedom of love for all. So the final journaling technique is you're going to take your image and your shadow words. You're going to look up the antonym of each of those words, or the opposite of each of those words, and learn to find the gift and accept the shadow words and celebrate your image words, in order that you would become neutral. Whether the word is seemingly positive or seemingly negative, you'll find the gift in each of these things and feel neutral. And I really, for me at least, and I'm trusting for you, what's that helped me to do is just not to have any of those negative stories or a sense of regret or shame or guilt, being circulating through my mind. Because if I remember from the map of consciousness that shame and guilt drain energy from our lives, and we would rather have love, peace, and joy, and which gives us energy. All right, well, that is the teaching learning video for session 11. I'm so looking forward to our one-on-one session and journaling through these techniques with the details of your story. So to you I say, namaste. The divine in me celebrates the divine in you. We'll see you soon.